So Walter Raleigh's death wasn't just an execution, it was a nightmare played out in public. A crowd gathered early that cold October morning, waiting to watch one of England's most famous men face the axe. He walked calmly to the scaffold, weak from fever but proud. People whispered his name like he was still a legend. When the executioner showed him the blade, Raleigh ran his fingers along its edge and smiled faintly. "This is a sharp medicine," he said, "but it's a sure cure for all diseases." Those words would echo for centuries. But what happened next turned a royal execution into something far darker. The first swing of the axe missed its mark. The second blow finally severed his head. Some witnesses swore they saw his lips still moving, whispering a prayer even after death. The executioner held the head high for the crowd to see, declaring, "This is the head of a traitor." But the people didn't cheer. They stood silent, shocked, because they knew this wasn't justice. It was revenge, and the story didn't end there. Raleigh's grieving wife, Bess, begged for his remains. They buried his body, but not his head. That she kept embalmed and sealed inside a red velvet bag. For nearly 29 years, she lived with it. Some said she kept it on her desk. Others claimed she showed it to visitors who came to honor his memory. Imagine it, a widow sleeping in the same house as her husband's preserved head. Year after year, refusing to let go. A love story, a protest, and a haunting reminder that some deaths refuse to rest in peace. Before the blade ever touched his neck, Sir Walter Raleigh was one of the brightest stars in England's sky. He was everything a queen could admire, tall, charming, brave, and brilliant. Under Queen Elizabeth I, Raleigh rose higher than almost any man of his time. He wasn't born a prince, but he carried himself like one. He could write poetry that melted hearts, then turn around and command soldiers with fierce courage. He was a dreamer and a fighter. Raleigh led daring voyages across the Atlantic, helping lay the foundations for what would one day become England's colonies in America. He even helped fight off the Spanish Armada, defending his homeland when it mattered most. The Queen adored him. She gave him lands, money, titles, and her trust. She made him captain of the Queen's Guard, a role only the most loyal could hold, but with that favor came jealousy. Many powerful men at court hated how close Raleigh stood to the throne, and his own pride didn't help. He was confident, sometimes too confident. People whispered that he thought himself untouchable. Then came the mistake that changed everything: love. In 1591, Raleigh secretly married Elizabeth Bess Throckmorton, one of the Queen's own ladies-in-waiting. He knew the Queen demanded total loyalty from her favorites. For Elizabeth I, Raleigh's love was supposed to belong to her, not another woman. When she discovered that Bess had not only married Raleigh, but also given birth to his child, her rage was explosive. Raleigh and his wife were thrown into the Tower of London. The man who had once protected the Queen now sat behind bars because of her anger. Though he later regained a small piece of her favor, the magic was gone. He was no longer the Queen's shining knight, but a man marked by betrayal. The bond of trust between them had been shattered forever. When Queen Elizabeth I died in 1603, Raleigh's world fell apart completely. His shield, the Queen's love, vanished. The new king, James I, was nothing like Elizabeth. He didn't want bold heroes or adventurers. He wanted peace, especially peace with Spain, the same enemy Raleigh had fought all his life, and Raleigh had enemies everywhere, whispering poison into the new king's ear. They painted him as a proud, dangerous man, a relic of Elizabeth's old glory days. It didn't take long. By July of that same year, Raleigh was arrested and charged with treason, accused of plotting against the king. The evidence was weak, almost laughable, based on one man's forced confession. At his trial, Raleigh defended himself with brilliance and courage. His words were sharp, his wit unmatched. The same people who once despised him now admired him. The crowd cheered for him as a hero wronged by politics, but it made no difference. His fate was already decided. He was found guilty and sentenced to the cruelest death, to be hanged, drawn, and quartered. At the last moment, King James showed mercy, or perhaps fear of public anger, and stopped the execution. But Raleigh's freedom was gone. For the next 13 years, he lived in the Tower once more, not as a hero, but as a ghost of his former self, a man dreaming of the sea of gold and of one last chance to rise again, after 13 long years locked in the Tower of London. Sir Walter Raleigh was an old man living on hope. His hair had gone grey, his health was failing, but his hunger for adventure burned on. In 1616, he begged King James for one last chance to win back his honor. He promised to find gold in the lands of South America, the mythical city of El Dorado. The king agreed, but his warning was deadly clear. Do not harm the Spanish. England needed peace, and Raleigh's every move would be watched. From the moment the ship set sail, the voyage felt cursed. Storms battered the fleet, sailors fell sick, and supplies ran low. By the time they reached the Orinoco River, Raleigh himself was too weak to go ashore. He sent his trusted friend, Lawrence Camus, and his beloved son Wat to lead the search. Then disaster struck. The English force, desperate and confused, attacked a Spanish settlement. In the first exchange of gunfire, young Walter Raleigh was shot and killed. When the news reached his father, the old explorer was crushed. His dream of gold had turned into a nightmare of blood. Camus, overcome with guilt, took his own life. Broken and defeated, Raleigh returned to England with no gold, no son, and no hope. The Spanish ambassador demanded his punishment, and King James, eager to keep peace, gave in. Without a new trial, the old death sentence was revived. On October 29, 1618, Raleigh faced the axe with calm courage. He touched the blade and said, "This is sharp medicine, but it is a sure cure for all diseases." One stroke ended the man, but not his story. For his wife kept his head beside her for 29 years, a silent reminder that even death could not silence Sir Walter Raleigh. Sir Walter Raleigh's life was a story of brilliance and tragedy, a man who touched greatness, yet died branded a traitor. He was a poet with a sword in his hand, a dreamer who chased worlds beyond the sea, and a court favorite who fell from power faster than anyone could believe. He lived in an age of glory and danger, where loyalty could turn to death overnight. Raleigh served his queen with courage and vision, helping shape England's path toward empire. But the same boldness that lifted him up also destroyed him. He spoke too freely, loved too deeply, and defied the wrong king at the wrong time. Even in death, he refused to lose his dignity. His calm on the scaffold, his sharp wit before the axe, they turned his final moments into legend. And the strange fate of his severed head, kept for decades by his grieving wife, made his story unforgettable. Sir Walter Raleigh's life reminds us that heroes are not perfect. They are human. They rise, they fall, and sometimes their courage shines brightest at the very end. His voice, once silenced by the axe, still echoes through the centuries. If you think Sir Walter Raleigh's death was disturbing, you haven't seen anything yet. History is full of tales even darker. Queens who kept their lovers' hearts in boxes, kings who drank gold to cheat death, and poets who met the blade with a smile. Every century hides a story that was never meant to be told, and every legend has a secret ending. Follow now for more forgotten stories, twisted fates, and haunting truths from history's shadowed past. Because some tales don't die, they whisper.